Well, hello and good day, everyone. Thanks for watching. My name is Mike, and today, what I'm going to do for you is review this 2018 Nissan Leaf and share some of my experiences over the past year and a half owning the electric vehicle, particularly the Nissan Leaf. So just a little bit of a background. My wife and I decided to purchase this Leaf back in March of 2020, just before this insane car balloon exploded with crazy prices and shortages and all of that. So we got it at a fairly decent price. And the main driver of that is we had to move on from our Ford Explorer. We're kind of older now, we don't have children, and we needed to save some fuel. So we wanted to do something that was going to take us places and be fuel efficient. You can't get more fuel efficient than the electric vehicle, can you? So hang on. I'm sure that this video is going to be informative and entertaining. So sit back and enjoy. press. Stop right there. Before I go any further on this review, I just have one question for everybody, and maybe I can get some decent answers. Why is it, or what is happening with the EV market right now? Why is everybody, when I say everybody, of course I don't mean everybody, but why are people lining up for these EVs? Why are they willing to overpay for them? Why are they willing to wait 6, 8, 10 months? Every car manufacturer is trying to get in on this market. And quite frankly, it's people are, I think, are getting taken advantage of. And my question is why? Why? Is it the thought of rising gas prices? Is it, I got to buy an EV because everybody else is buying EVs? It's the trendy thing to do. Is it you want to save the environment? You think it doesn't pollute the environment as much as a internal combustion car? What is the reason that everyday people are lined up and willing to overpay by 10, maybe 50, even $20,000 over MSRP and wait a year for these EVs? I'm not quite sure why. In fact, I don't even know if we're capable of handling the influx of EVs. And I'll just give you an example. We know what just recently happened. Everybody knows what happened in California. You weren't able to put your air conditioner above 78, or I'm sorry, 85, whatever it was. And you couldn't charge your car at the same time. In fact, there were stations that were closed, so you couldn't charge your car. Now, just to put that in perspective, there's just over 2 million, as of last year, the number of electric vehicles in the United States was over 2 million. And half of those are located in California. So just over 1 million cars in California are electrified. And that is about, we're just going to use 10%. It's a little less, but let's just use 10% as a nice round number. 10% of the vehicles in California are electric. And what happened just recently, they told 10% of the population they couldn't charge their car. What happens if that number increased to, I don't know, 50%? Holy shit, what would happen then if it got warm out? 50% of the population wouldn't be able to charge their car until certain days. That sounds like gas rationing to me. That sounds like what happened in the 70s. Alternating charging days. I guess that's what would happen. So before we get into this EV craze, we have to kind of upgrade the power system in this country, I think, anyway. Or we have to have an alternative way to charge the car. I'm all for solar. I'm all for any other method, home charging, whatever it is. But we need to establish that before we go out and start running around getting our EVs and overpaying for them. It's funny. I'm going to take a ride because I'll just get a good feel for, this is really interesting. I was listening, it was about a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and I was listening to our vice president push electric vehicles, and she's saying that, they're very good for the environment. They don't cause any pollution. And they are also cheaper. I'm like, I don't know what pipe she was smoking, but every single EV out there is more expensive than an internal combustion vehicle. Comparatively, whatever that word is. For example, I am driving the Nissan Leaf. The Leaf is comparable to a Nissan Versa or a Sentra. That's its internal combustion counterpart, as I like to put it. So if I were to look at a brand new Versa, that would run, I believe it's between $18,000 and $19,000 MSRP. The Nissan Leaf, which is almost identical to the Versa, except it's got a battery pack, is $32,000. So where is it cheaper? In fact, the government has to give you money to purchase an EV because it's too expensive. How did I buy this one? Well, look, I got a pretty good deal right before the pandemic ended and all this car insanity started. So, you know, I did invest in it, but it wasn't a lot. I think it was $15,000. I purchased this 2018 Nissan Leaf 4. So I think it was a reasonable deal. And I also think what she means is fueling the car. You don't have to pay for fuel. I'm just going to be honest. If you're relying on fast charging for your electric vehicle, in this area anyway, I don't know where it is by you, but it's 35 cents a minute. So it might not sound like much, but if you're going to charge your car for a half hour, that adds up. What is it, 15, 12 bucks? Whatever it is. To charge your car doesn't sound like much. No, it is less than gas. However, if you're taking a trip in the vehicle, a long trip, I should say, and I calculated it, if I were to take a trip of 500 miles in my Nissan Leaf, it would actually cost me the exact same amount of money as if I were to take an electric vehicle. So if I were going to make a 1,000-mile trip, let's say 500 to and 500 back, it would actually cost me more in electric to take my EV on a long trip. Now, it is great. It's fantastic for local driving because I charge it at home. I don't have to pay those fast charging rates. So, for what I need it for, is absolutely great, and it works just fine. Now, this goes for every EV out there. So if you're thinking about it, if you have a down payment on it, if you're all excited to get your new electric vehicle, let me just tell you what the real costs are. Okay? Will it save you money on the long run? It probably will. While it is true that the EVs do cost more up front, they do cost a little, and I mean a little, less in maintenance and a whole hell of a lot less in fuel if you use the EV for what it's intended for. It's a locally driven car. It's a commuter car. It's something you're not going to take on long trips. Again, if you're going to constantly need to charge your car at a fast charging station, it's going to cost you. It's just going to cost you. There's no way around it. You're paying at least 35 cents a minute, and it depends on how much you want your battery filled. It just depends. You can spend an hour at a fast charger. So, what can you expect out of an electric vehicle? Expect to pass all the gas stations if you do that. Charge at home. It's fantastic. Now here's the downside. Yeah, there's a downside. If you need anything done to your vehicle, your local mechanic is probably not going to touch it. This goes to right to repair. And I watch Louis Rossmann. He does a great job on bringing it to everybody's attention. But you know, all of these manufacturers and dealers that sell these electric vehicles say, oh no, it's for your safety. Now, I have a buddy who's an electrician, and he probably works on more high voltage systems than this car puts out in a lifetime. But he's not qualified to work on it. Not qualified. He may get injured. Oh, come on. Give me a break. I'll get into that rant in another video. But anyway, you're going to have to bring it into the dealer for service. That's going to cost you a lot more than going to a mechanic or doing it yourself. So you might want to put that on the back burner. But the upfront cost, it's way more. And for these people on a waiting list and paying more than MSRP God bless you if you can do that. If it were me, I couldn't do it. I couldn't. I called around for another EV, and the Konas are on back order. The electric. What the hell is going on? Either we're not producing her enough, or people are buying them like crazy, or they're being brainwashed. I don't know. Anyway, let's get back to this 2018 Nissan Leaf. Overall, for the past year and a half, it's been good to me. It's been good. I have had a couple of surprises, which, hey, you know, it wasn't expected, but I'm going to let you know so you can make an informed decision. First thing, it is not good for emergencies. Oh, gosh. So, 4 months ago, we had a family emergency. My poor sister-in-law's husband passed away. God bless him. Great guy. We wanted to get down to where she lives so we can be, you know, supportive. So I'm on my way home from work. My wife calls me, says, we got to get down there. Okay. I get home. We get in the car. There's only 50 miles of range left on the electric vehicle. We're like, yeah, that's not going to work. Well, there's no charging stations between here and her house. No fast charging stations anyway. It's 20 miles there, 20 miles back. We can't go. We have to take the gas powered car. There's no other way around it. Not unless you want to wait an hour and a half or 2 hours for this to charge, and you know, it's an emergency. We need to get there. So, you know, that's one drawback of the EV, but we have a gas powered vehicle just in case. So it was okay for us. Another thing was, my son calls from school. Hey, listen, can you come down? You know, we're having a moving out thing, and you know, we need help moving out, and you know, I need some help fixing the place up and doing a little plumbing work. Okay, when do you need this done? Oh, tomorrow. Yeah, we charged the car overnight, made it down just fine. But what would happen if you have a child in school, in a college, and you needed to get there right away, and your car wasn't charged? Another thing we have to just be mindful of is to change your ways. You have to change your habits. You can't wake up in the morning and say, hey, I got a quarter tank of gas, I'll stop at the gas station, fill it up, and I'll be on my way in 5 minutes. No, you have to check it the night before. Make sure you have enough charge for the morning time, and then go to work. So you gotta have to shift your thinking a little bit and be preemptive in charging the vehicle. Another thing we have to do is, I think it's a good thing anyway. Does anybody remember road atlases, maps? We went on a trip. You would actually pull out a map and say, okay, we're going to stop here for a rest area. We're going to stop here for gas. We'll stop here. I miss those days. I think it's fun. In an electric vehicle, you kind of have to do that. You kind of have to map out your range and make sure that there's a charging station if you're going on a trip that you need a station. And we have to do that every time we go on our trip. So I live in north central New Jersey, and we like to visit my parents in South Jersey, which is about 150 or 160 miles away. So we do have to stop. And if you have a look at this, I'll show you what I go through before I make the trip and how I plan it out. It doesn't take long, but it does need to be planned. So have a look at what I do. Okay, so before I take my trip, I have to look at the EVgo app. This is the network of charging stations that most electric vehicles use. Of course, I'm not talking about the Tesla. They use their own supercharging station, but they can use these fast charging stations as well. So let me sign in. And boom. Alright, so I've driven this route several times, but I want to show you all something. So I live in northern New Jersey, in north central New Jersey. And if we look and just pull out a bit, these are the charging stations in blue that I can fast charge at. Now I'm talking about fast chargers, not level 2 or home charging. The closest one is all the way here by the city. If I zoom in, I have nothing within a 20-mile radius. No fast chargers. So anyway, I'm rambling on. I take a look at the trip. I want to go from here to Atlantic City, which is down here. Way south and a little east. So from that point to that point, how many fast chargers can I stop at? Well, I do take the New Jersey Garden State Parkway down, which is our main highway for all beach access. Or as we call it in New Jersey, this is the main highway for going down the shore. So there's 3 major highways I take. Route 206, which we can see there is no fast charging stations. And I take 287. Again, all the way through here. I've been to this fast charging station and it's a bear to get to. Lots of traffic, so that's not even a consideration. I do have one here, although by the time I get here I still have plenty of charge left. So on my way down I've got pretty much 2. This is a bear to get to also. In Sandy Hook, a lot of traffic. So my 2 options are this charging station, which of course is not right on the highway, but it is off a little bit. It's at a shopping center. And if we click on it, it says there's 4 charging stations available. So I'm going to click on it. And what you want to do is find the 50 kilowatts. So this is not. So level 2, same as charging at home. It's not going to do anything. You might as well spend all day there. Level 2, and there are 50 kilowatt chargers, of course the fast chargers, and they are available. You see them in green, they're good to go. But again, this I have enough charge to get down to where I'm going, so I usually pass that one. This is the one I look at right here. Where are you? Here. This is the one we always stop at. It's about 75 or 80 miles away from where I live. And if Atlantic City's 150 miles away, this is a great point to charge. So, if I look at this, there are 2 stations available. And of course, we have the Mars and the Hiko. I don't know, EVgo likes to name their stuff. They're both in green, so they are up and running. Now, before this was in red. If you see anything in red, that means it is down. It's not working. And I've run into that problem before where I've come to this rest area and only one is working. And you're just going to have to wait your turn if somebody's charging. And if they just got there, you could be waiting an hour. Fortunately, I didn't have to do that. I waited about 5 or 6 minutes and they were done. So not a problem. I haven't had a problem yet, but I can see that. Because a lot of times this rest area, there's always one down. Now, you may be saying, well, why don't you just go to another charging station? So if I pull out here, you can see there is none within like a 30-mile radius. There are no more charging stations. So this is kind of out there. I have no choice but to stay there. And there's not even a level 2 that I can charge up. So this is kind of a risk. So it's one of the reasons I have to check this before you go. And anybody taking a trip in an EV needs to do this. Of course, I charge. And I have enough juice to get to Atlantic City. On my way back, I do it in reverse. I usually stop at this one. Okay, like I said, this charging station is in a mall, so sometimes it gets busy. If it is really busy, I'll wait, or I will go up to, where is it? The next one. Which is right off of 287. And it's not right off of 287. It's in here. But you know, I've got a couple here. 50 kilowatt. I'll hit that. But being the most densely populated state in the nation, I would figure they would have a little bit more access to electric vehicle charging stations. But that's really what you have to do. And if you're in a different state that is not as densely packed, you may even have less charging stations. So you're really in the EV, you gotta plan your route always before you leave. You don't want to be stranded on the road and have AAA come with a generator to charge your car. That's embarrassing. All right, back to the video. So as you can see, it's a little bit more effort, but it's something that I enjoy doing, and I'll keep doing it. I hope that answers some of the questions on what it's like to own the Leaf. Now, the Leaf in particular has a little bit of nuances. Number one, if you're interested in purchasing a Leaf, this is what I recommend. The first thing is your location. All right, where in the country do you live? And the only reason I say that, particularly for the Nissan Leaf or Nissan Leaf, this does not have active thermal management for your battery. What I mean is, like Teslas and other brands, they pump coolant through the battery to keep it at a good operating temperature. Battery in an EV needs a sweet spot. It has this temperature range where it kind of needs to be in order to be efficient. So if you ever woken up in the morning, go and start your car, and you hear that roar in the cold weather, it's because the battery is having a tough time cranking over. You're losing some of the power in that battery because it's very cold. The same thing happens in a lithium-ion battery. You can get into that in any YouTube video of why it does that, but needless to say, if it's cold outside, your range is going to be very limited. So in this vehicle, the average is 150-mile range. I must expect in the wintertime that it's going to get less, probably 90 to 100 miles of range. And I'm in New Jersey. If you are somewhere where it gets colder than maybe 20 degrees, like Minnesota or something like that, oh, maybe this isn't the right car for you to purchase in that freezing cold weather. And vice versa, if it's too hot, if you're in Florida, Texas, Louisiana, Arizona, someplace where it's 120 degrees in the summertime, the heat is not the best thing for the battery either. That actually degrades the battery, so the battery life won't be as long. You may have to replace it in 4 or 5 years instead of 10 years. It's just what I'm told. That's what happens. In fact, when you go to charge the car, it says it right in the manual. When you go and charge the Leaf, kind of let it sit for a while so the battery can cool before you add more heat to it and charge it. So the battery is sensitive to heat. So that's the first thing I would consider when buying the Leaf. The second thing is make sure there's an alternative charging location near you. Is, hey, if the power goes out, you don't have home charging up and running, you're going to need to charge it somewhere. Fortunately for us, there is a Nissan dealership close by. It's about 5 miles away, and they have a charging station there. All Nissan dealers have one, albeit it's a level 2. It'll get the car charged and it'll get us where we need to go. Another thing you may want to consider if you're buying the Leaf is, like I said before, have a backup, have an alternative car, have a gas-powered car just in case those emergency situations happen. It needs to be charged, and if you don't have a fast charger nearby, it's just going to take a while to charge. If you need to get somewhere in a hurry and you don't have a charge, you know, kind of out of luck. And the last thing I would consider, well, I shouldn't say last thing, it's probably the first freaking thing, is the cost. If you can afford it, why not? Buy it. It's going to run you $32,000. This is the SV model, so I believe MSRP on this is 31 again. And this is an 18, and I bought it with less than 10,000 miles on it. So I thought I got a fantastic deal on this. One more thing I did forget. Shit, this happened to us. Oh man, I forgot to tell you. So we were taking a ride out to Pennsylvania for a party. And we left the house. We had a full charge. Full charge. And I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Poconos in that area. But it's pretty desolate. We're like, you know what? It's not far. It's, I think it was probably 60 miles there and back, maybe 30 miles each way. So at most, we would need, I don't know, 100 miles. We had a full charge at 150, plenty, right? So this is funny. We're going to Pennsylvania, and we get there. We get to where we're going, and we try to use the navigation on this freaking car, and it doesn't work. So of course you have to use the Google machine and get it done. So I use Google Maps, and this freaking thing's a piece of crap. Don't use the navigation in this Leaf. They'll bring you friggin' nowhere. So we drove way past where we're going. Probably put an extra 20 miles on the car. No worries, right? We get to the party. We get out. It's freezing freaking cold. It's an October night, just like it is now. But the temperature dropped like 20 degrees. I get in the car, we turn it on, we drive a little bit, the range starts going down. We're like, holy shit, what the, I hope we make it home. There's nothing out in Pennsylvania, no charging stations, nothing. So, this is great. We're driving home, we're freezing because I don't want to turn the heater on. It's going to draw down the battery more. My wife is in the driver's seat. Turn on the heat. I can't turn on the heat because if I turn on the heat, we may be stuck. So she's turned on the electric heat warmers, which for some reason doesn't draw down the battery, which is a good thing. So she's keeping warm. I have mine off just in case. Oh my God, that was probably the scariest moment we had in this vehicle. Was, oh shit, we made it home with 10% battery, which is pretty good. But I just wanted to share that story with you, and those things can happen, and you know, that's something we didn't plan for, was this navigation thing that not to work. Don't use the freaking Nissan Leaf navigation. It sucks. Use the the maps on Google. It's much better, or the Waze, or, you know, it does come with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, so use that. Well, I want to thank you all for listening to my babble on this vehicle. I hope I was somewhat informative, and I want everybody to have a wonderful day, and good luck with your EV search or your EV purchase.